When Donald found out that Vice President Kamala Harris had worked a part-time job at McDonald's while she was in college, it seemed to upset him in a very weird way. I mean, most of us work those kinds of jobs. I mean, he never did, but most of us do. So he decided to tell people that she was lying about it and that it had never happened. And then he promised that one of these days he was going to work at McDonald's. Well, today that dream came true. Much to my astonishment, Donald actually went through with it. He showed up at a McDonald's wearing, I have to say, an absolutely adorable apron, tied in the back with a big yellow bow. And he worked the fryer.
Right there.
It seems like working the French fryer is not the job for which he's best suited. So they did give him another shot, and it definitely went downhill from there. But I want to go back a couple of days because this whole weekend has been something of a disaster for the Republican presidential candidate. Starting back on Thursday, he spoke at a rally, and what he said sounded like something out of a Dr. Seuss fever dream. This is a direct quote. "Over the seas and over our land. And then they want us to have clean. I said, wait, we're going to be clean, but it's all flying. Just remember that. Does that make sense? In other words, it's all coming through the currents, through the air. They can name it." Unquote. I probably didn't have to say unquote because I am going to be speaking in full comprehensible sentences, which is already a dead giveaway that I am not Donald Trump. If anybody, though, can interpret the gibberish he spoke, I have good news for you. There might be room for you in Donald Trump's cabinet. No, because that's not something that's ever going to happen. So why give ourselves nightmares prematurely? As we know, over the last couple of weeks, ever since the dance party debacle, Donald's campaign team has been canceling events left and right, claiming that he's exhausted, not just really, really old and kind of losing his mind. So Friday morning, though, probably because it was starting to look bad, especially since Vice President Harris has been all over the map at rallies and town halls and giving interviews. So Friday morning, they finally somehow dragged Donald out of bed to sit for what should have been a really easy softball interview with fellow fascist Dan Bongino. Looking like a reanimated corpse, though, Donald went off the rails very, very quickly when he seemed to defend Harvey Weinstein, a convicted serial rapist who destroyed the careers of countless numbers of women.
It's interesting. I was so amazed that Harvey Weinstein got schlonged. He got hit as hard as you can get hit because he was sort of the king of the woke, right?
For those of you who don't know what schlonged means, consider yourself lucky. If you are a seeker of knowledge, however, you can look it up in the Urban Dictionary, although I strongly advise against it. As you can see from that video, Donald looks utterly exhausted. He's so tired, in fact, that he didn't even have the energy to comb his hair. And only halfway through the hour-long, what was supposed to be an hour-long interview, he abruptly asked to end it, having completely forgotten that it was streaming live. Donald didn't fare much better the next day when, in front of a live audience, he completely melted down when the audio system went out. I've been thinking about what most of us would do under similar circumstances. I mean, you know, it's probably very stressful. You have an audience full of people. The mic stops working. we'd probably do some sort of damage control, try to take control of the situation, find out what's going on, see if there are any alternatives. What I know most of us would not do is lumber around the stage like a maniac and repeatedly do this. Unfortunately, most people aren't going to know what really happened at that rally because the New York Times is probably going to describe Donald's inexplicable behavior as his karaoke night for deaf people or something. In yet another attempt to right the quickly sinking ship, Donald decided that instead of speaking about policy or the Republican platform, why should he at this point? He waxed poetic about Arnold Palmer, a professional golfer who's been dead for almost a decade, for almost 12 minutes.
This is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough. And I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God. That's unbelievable. I had to say it.
Listen, I'm not a prude. I do not get easily offended, but I do think that there's a time and a place for everything. I just don't think it's appropriate for the person running to be leader of the free world to go on at length about how many guys marveled at the size of Arnold Palmer's junk. What even is that? Even Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, whose only job, to be fair, seems to be whitewashing or lying about Donald's grotesque behavior, could not normalize it. When pressed by Jake Tapper about Donald's really inappropriate remarks, and that's an understatement, Johnson looked like he wanted to crawl under a rock, and I actually think that that would be an excellent idea for him.
Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis in front of Pennsylvania voters?
Jake, you seem to like that line a lot. Let me tell you that Donald Trump is doing rallies nonstop around the country.
Let me just say something. I don't want to be talking about this.
Right.
Donald Trump is out there saying it is.
But you continue to. Let's talk about.
Because you won't
wait
address
a minute.
it.
Hold on.
You won't address it. He is out there talking to
voters.
voters.
No, I'll address it. Let me answer it. Okay, don't say it again. We don't have to say it. I get it.
How, you might ask, could it get any worse for our favorite Republican candidate for the presidency? Well, it's a brand new day, and I think we're always doing Donald a disservice if we underestimate his ability to make himself look even worse than he already does. So here he is, doing what he does best, looking like an idiot.
Good. These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones, you see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it?
What was that? Bright lights, black people, or some racist version of an M. Night Shyamalan movie? And by the way, it isn't really progress if you're just as virulently racist as you were 7 decades ago, and the only thing that's changed is that you think it's totally okay to be this open about it. It's hard to know if this has been the worst 3 days of Donald's campaign. I mean, there have been so many bad days, but in an attempt to show off his knowledge on the job today while he was at McDonald's, he said this.
Thank you very much for the use of your beautiful store. It's essentially a store. And
it's a bit of a stretch here, but I think the word he was looking for is restaurant. Donald is not capable of running a campaign for the presidency, let alone running an administration. The evidence of that gets stronger every day. If only corporate media would acknowledge that and report on it appropriately, it doesn't seem like he has much of a future at McDonald's either. So, Donald, it might be time for you to rethink your career path. I'm pretty sure Walmart is hiring greeters, and you definitely are old enough to apply for the job. But on the other hand, you're a convicted felon, and there is no way they're going to hire you.